Hello and welcome to Rough Around the Edges, which is just basically me waffling on at you and talking about a few things, opinions, ideas, things that have been going on. This week I wanted to talk about decision making because I've been a coach for over 5 years. I have been trying to turn my life around for a lot longer than that. And I've learned a lot of lessons around decision making. And I delivered a workshop this week about vision and turning your vision, your dream of what you want your life to be. We did a workshop on that the other week of how to create that rather than, just some fancy idea that's never going to come to pass. So we worked on that. And then this last week we did a workshop on how to action that and how to make it a reality. And because of how it was put together, we helped the clients be able to make decisions. And after a couple of conversations that I've had this week, I really think that being able to make decisions, they don't even have to be good decisions, you just have to be able to make decisions, is the biggest thing that stops people moving forward with their life, stops people enjoying life, stops people progressing in life, just stops people in their tracks. When people are overwhelmed, it's often because they can't make a decision. So I don't know, I wouldn't consider myself a particularly good decision maker, but a conversation I had with Joe, he was like, you can just cut through things and you can just get to, you make a decision, and not everybody can do that. And I think it's a process that I've developed because I certainly wasn't like that, and when I did make decisions, there were always bad ones. And I think that is part of the process. I think you have to be willing to make bad decisions. Something one of my mentors said to me, which has always stuck with me, is you only have to be 51% sure about a decision. You're never going to be 100% sure. You're never going to be ready. You're never going to not have any doubts about a decision, but you still need to make them. You still need to make them, and that means that sometimes you're going to make bad decisions, and for whatever reason, people feel that they can't do that it'll be the death of them if they make a bad decision. And don't get me wrong, there are big decisions in life, and yet you can recover from things. I invested in my first proper mentor in about 2020, and it cost me £8,000, which was my entire savings. Now, 2020, I was in my early 30s. I never had over £1,000 in the bank until about being 28 when I started playing full-time rugby. And even then, the money was in and the money was out because of debts, because I was doing my house, because I wasn't very good with money. I grew up poor. I grew up on a council estate. My mum was on benefits. We didn't have a lot growing up. And so money's never been a big part of my life. I've never had any handouts. I've never had any help with money. We don't have a rich family or anything. We don't have, any uncles who've popped their clogs and left a load of money to anybody. So it's always kind of been us on our own. And I had got to a point, I'd saved money up from rugby, and I just started my coaching. That was what the mentorship was for. It was for coaching. And I'd done a bit of stuff. I'd taken a bit of this guy's content that he puts out, and I'd paid for a course, and I'd found it really useful and got a lot of value out of it and made a little bit of money back on it. To be fair, a bit of that £8,000 was from making it off that course and investing in that. And before, that was £1,000, that course. And that was the biggest investment I'd ever made. Anyway, what I'm saying is I was like, I'm gonna speak to myself. I'm gonna speak to this guy here. I'm gonna potentially invest in myself. And I didn't think it was gonna be that expensive. And I was like, do you know what? Even though it's my entire life savings, what's the alternative? What's the alternative? I just try and figure it out and make it up as I go along. I don't know what I'm doing, he certainly knows better about what he's doing. So was I 100% certain? Absolutely not. Did I make the decision? Yes. Did it work out? Well, GMC is a worldwide organization with clients all over the world, and we have staff members and do events around the world. So it's working. It's currently working. that is an example of a big decision. Like, that would have wiped me out. And something that really helps when making decisions, I'm going to be a bit sporadic here because, like I said, I don't make notes for these, so you'll have to go with the flow. For me, there are always certain filters. I think that's the word that I always use. Filters that I use to kind of make my decisions by, and they will depend on what's going on and where I am in my life. So something I talk to clients about a lot. If you are feeling you need to make a decision, I think a really good place to start is, am I overwhelmed or am I a little bit lost? Usually those are the two types of places that people need to make a decision from. So if you find yourself in that position, if you're overwhelmed, you zoom in. What's the smallest thing I can do? If you feel a bit lost and you don't know where to go, what's the goal? What am I heading towards? Right, and that will indicate your decision. So that's, I guess, it's like a flow chart thing. Another thing that I use when it comes to some decision making is, what's the worst that can happen? What is the literal worst that can happen? That was something that I took away from Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek, which I never finished, if I'm being honest with you. But that was the thing that really stood out for me, was what is the worst that can happen? And that was something that I asked myself when I made that decision about investing in myself. And it was, the answer was, I end up broke, not being able to afford the house, and I end up on my mate's sofa. And then the follow-on question is, can you live with that? And my answer was, yeah, I might not like it, but I can live with it. And so that just becomes, right, well, that, we've accepted what what it is, what that is, and then we just deal with it accordingly. Those are two key things when it comes to decision making. Another thing that I use is, it was something that I used in the 2004 Great British Rowing Team. Every question that was asked, the question that they asked back was, will it make the boat go faster? As in, is it going to help us? Our goal is to get a gold medal at the Olympics. By doing this, if we start at 5 a.m, if we go to the gym session, if we go on a night out, if we get this new coach in, if we whatever, will it make the boat go faster? And that was the thing that they used. So for me personally, I have these kind of filters and decisions that allow me to make decisions. I'm also not scared of making a bad decision, because this is the thing that paralyzes people, and people stay stuck. People know that doing the same thing over and over gets the same results. People are not stupid. Well, there's a phrase that says a person is smart, people are stupid. But a person, you, an individual who's watching this video, who I am talking to right now, you are not stupid. You know what you need. You know what you need to do. And yet, you don't make decisions. You know that if life might not be where you want it to be right now, that if you keep doing what you're doing, it's going to stay exactly where it is. You're just going to get older and it's going to get a bit more difficult. So make a decision. Make a decision. Because for me, do you know what the worst thing, when I ask that question, what is the worst thing that can happen? The worst thing that can happen for me is that I sit there and go, I did fuck all. That for me is the worst thing. Now, sometimes doing nothing is it is always an action. It's a decision. To do nothing is a response. And sometimes it's the right thing. Sometimes you just need to sit on things and things kind of work themselves out. But if you've been stuck for a long time, then that isn't working for you, is it? Give something a decision. Give something an amount of time. If it works, you don't need to have like I said, things don't need to be perfect. Something we roll out at GMC, and I make all my clients aware of it, is when we change things, we implement things, I always have a rollout date. And regardless of whether the thing is completely done and finished, it gets rolled out. Because otherwise you just go, it's not quite perfect, it's not quite perfect, it's not quite perfect. And then we fix it on the fly. We fix it on the fly. Something I say to clients all the time is, you can't swim without getting in the water. How can you swim when you're not in the water. You can do all the theory, you can do all the thinking, you can think you're ready, you can think you're the best swimmer in the world, but until you get in the actual water, you are not going to learn to swim. And that's the same with decision making. And I find it so frustrating. It really fucks me off, because I have these conversations where people whine and moan about how shit their life is, or how they're single, or how they don't look how they want to look, or they don't have the job that they want to have, or they don't have the friendship circle that they want to have. And yet they won't make a decision. They won't make a decision to, go try something, to do something different, to ask for help, anything. They just sit and they moan, and it really pisses me off. And I think it annoys me so much because I've been there. I've been there. I've been in that position. I've not wanted to make decisions. God knows I didn't come out until I was 27 because I was terrified of what would happen off the back of it. And I think that in and of itself for me was a big, and I don't say that with pride. Like, I'm not proud that I got married and, didn't come out until I was 27. But I'm proud that I actually took action, because there's a version of me, the version that doesn't make a decision, that stays in that relationship, is sad, either ends up killing themselves or is just a shell of themselves for the rest of their life. And either of those things, like, I'm not glad about how things came around, but I'm glad that wasn't a result for me. And that's because I made a decision, and it was a difficult decision, and there were certainly things in and around that time that could have been done differently. But you have to make a fucking decision. And I say that with love. I'm not swearing at you. I'm swearing because I'm passionate about it. Because it doesn't have to be that difficult. It's a really good analogy is when these like homing missiles, or even like airplanes and things. Airplanes, I'm not American, aeroplane. When they set off to their destination, they don't just like set off and then hope that they get there. They set off and they go, I'm in the right direction. No, make a minor adjustment. Go a little bit further. I'm in the right direction. No, make a minor adjustment. I'm in the right direction. Yes, stay where I am. And they just keep assessing, and looking at things. And I think for whatever reason, people don't take time to assess where they are in their own life. One of the first things, the first coaching course that I ever went on, one of the coaches, a guy called Dan Smith, great coach, said, if you're not assessing, you're guessing. And it's always stuck with me. Track things, get feedback, audit things. I do it all the time. I ask for feedback from clients. I ask for feedback from my staff. We audit what's going on. We like, how are we performing on things? How are we doing with things? It's so important to do. I actually told a client to do this. Maybe this is an exercise that you can do if you're struggling for making a decision. Sometimes you do need more data. Not always, but sometimes you do need more data. I'm not saying this should be a crapshoot. It's important that you're making as much as possible informed decisions. So this is an exercise, and I've done this many times over the course of my life, and I've told clients to do it, and it always helps. It's called a time diary. So you basically get a notepad. This is a notepad, and you basically every half an hour for a week, you write down what you've done in the last half an hour. You can actually break this down into 15 minutes, but I found that quite invasive. And you write everything that you've done. 10 minutes of scrolling, 10 minutes in emails, 10 minutes talking to my nan. I did an hour of speaking to clients. Did a workshop. An hour at the gym. 15 minutes traveling to the gym, whatever it might be. And you do that for a full week, and you put everything in there. You do not hide anything. It's not for anybody else's eyes. And then what you do is you go through it with some highlighters like these ones, and you get, if you can, get a red and an orange and a green, and you go through and you have a look at what are the low value stuff that you don't need to do, or that are stressing you out, causing you havoc, costing you money, costing you energy, that you don't need. Those things, they get red. Things that are stressing you out but you need to do, things that are costing you money but you need to do, things that you'd rather not do but you need to do, orange. Things that you love doing, things that give you energy, things that give you money, things that give you joy, things that give, you're doing green. And then what you've got is you've got a load of data. The red stuff, get rid of it. Right, that's an easy decision. Get rid of it. Orange stuff, your job is to try and minimize, delegate, and get rid of that stuff as much as possible. And it's basically like, if your life is a cup that's full of like crap or whatever, it's you getting some of that crap out and putting some good stuff in. And this is what, for me, that is what life has been over the last 10 plus years, is just constantly auditing and challenging what's going on, the decisions that you're making. So there's a simple starting exercise for you. Just little things like that. Audit things, make decisions through filters, frameworks, whatever's applicable to you. It depends where you are in your life and what's going on. Do that and you'll be like in front of 99% of the world. Like, it is, honestly, it's not difficult. Just so many people sit on their hands waiting for someone to come and wipe their ass for them. And life doesn't work like that. And I would like to consider myself a very compassionate, empathetic person. And, as someone who's gone through a lot of challenges with parents and things, I know how things land on you and impact you and are there bubbling under the surface. I was in therapy this week crying my eyes out about my own parents, which I thought was all sorted and what have you, and talking about my own son and stuff like that. We've all got shit that's going on. We've all got shit. But at some point, the rubber has to meet the road, and we have to take control of our life. We are responsible for our lives. We might not be responsible for the things that have happened to us. In most cases, we're definitely not. But we are responsible for our lives and the actions that we take and the decisions that we do or do not make. We are responsible. And I think once you figure that out and you just start doing it, life is infinitely better. I've actually done a vlog this week about just like a little behind the scenes. We're doing an intake next week for GMC. Our last intake was in April because we don't open the doors very often, because we like to really focus on our clients that come in, give them the full attention, get them off to the best start, really get them winning. So we only make, because of how we set things up and because of the depth that we go to, the coaches have like a cap on how many clients that they can have, so that everybody gets a world-class level of service. So our last time we opened them was in April. We're opening them in September. I don't know if we'll open them again this year. Maybe not. But they are going to be opening next week. Easiest way to see what's going on is to check out my Instagram or Facebook. You can have a look on there. You'll be able to get in touch. You'll be able to ask any questions about the program. The intake will be open for a week. This is the kind of stuff that we do in there. This is the kind of stuff I sit down with the guys and talk to them and help them with their decision making, with taking the next steps in their life, going deeper on this level of stuff. We're not about, if you just want to scratch the surface, if you just want to, lose a couple of pounds or fuck about or dip in and out, we're not for you. If you also don't want to be challenged with your old thoughts and patterns and behaviors, this isn't for you. And when I say challenge, I'm not talking about starting fights with people. I'm talking about asking why you believe that, why you think that, and you being willing to have a look and see if the thoughts and patterns and behaviors that you have are still serving you. Because it can be really difficult for us to let go of our old identities. I appreciate that. God knows I've had to do it many times. But it's important that you have people who are looking on the outside in, because you can't read the label when you're in the bottle, and I'm exactly the same. So the intake is opening. We've got a vlog that I've done this week, just because we've done a behind the scenes. I've been recording content. There's been loads going on this week. So you'll be able to see that on Sunday. But hopefully this has helped. And I'd love to know where you are at with your decision making in your life, and if you are one of those people who get stuck on making any decision. But if you've enjoyed it, like it, subscribe it, share it, and hopefully this can help somebody. Even if they don't watch this and you think, I know someone who's not very good at decision making, send this to them. Stay safe. I'll see you next week.